Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Tavern Tips Uncut, or Roll for Insight Season 2. I'll call it something. But, Dad the Drake, welcome back to the show. It's so exciting to have you here. Hi.
It's great to be back.
It's been a while. It's been like a whole year.
Oh, I know, right?
It's been like a whole...
I still get that, like, our first podcast, I still see it in, like, my YouTube recommended.
Yeah, I do too. When I'm working on the channel, like I'll see it every once in a while. And I'm like, hey, those were good times. But and I'm sure, yeah, reflect fondly on when I had like 4,000 subscribers. But
yeah.
Anyway, today we have a topic. Last time we did a bit of a general interview, but this time we have a specific topic that we need to talk about. And guys, if you are unaware, this is the uncut version of an interview that will be placed in a Tabletop Tavern Tips advice video on D&D problem players. That will be linked in the cards and linked in the description and probably linked in a pinned comment if I remember. I probably won't. But yeah, if you guys want more like succinct advice, you want to see me talking on a set to a camera, then you guys can check that out. Or you can stay here on Spotify or YouTube and listen just to the voices. That's fine. Absorb the voices. Know the voices. But anyway, let's get into our first bit of problem players. Dead of the Drake, you have chosen, and by chosen I mean you were given 5 problem players for us to tackle.
Yes.
And the first one.
Yes.
The first one is the rules lawyer. This one is one.
Oh boy.
That's quite famous. Everyone knows the rules lawyer. The rules lawyer is that guy. You're playing the game, the DM makes a call, and the rules lawyer interrupts, stops the game, stops the presses, and tries to adjust to fit the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. Usually they're right, sometimes they're wrong. We have many RPG horror stories of such times, but
oh yeah,
it does help the game be better. But interrupting is the problem.
That's the problem. And like a lot of it comes from over-eagerness and not like you're so bad, you need me to come save it. It comes from like, oh, I'm really having a fun time right now, I'm just gonna help it continue to be fun. So a lot of it can be done through like prevention instead of like a lot of these. I think that goes for all problem players, is that prevention comes before reaction. Where if you just like sit down, the session 0 is so important, and just let them know what I like to call the hierarchy TM. Yeah. So just making it very clear that, hey, I may not know the rules all the time, but I would really like you to respect the work I've put into this and like the immersive environment I'm trying to build. You know, and just gonna like say, hey, I know you're eager, but I still would like the respect from you.
Yeah, and also, like, if I were to go up to, like, a friend of mine and go, like, man, I've got this problem player. He just wants to get all the rules right. What a dick.
I know, right?
That would come off pretty terrible, right? Because there's nothing wrong with wanting to get the rules right, but the problem is, like, the interruption, right? You want a player who is able to, like, just sit back and then wait until after the game. Like, or... you know, have a more subtle way of communicating with you. Maybe a text like, hey, like that's not how grapple works.
Exactly.
Honestly, if I had a player who could tell me how grapple works each time I get confused on how grapple works, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Oh my God.
My recommendation is always just like say, hey, like I know that you want to get the rules right, and frame it like this. Hey, I could actually use your help with getting the rules right. That usually will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can use your help. But during the game, like, just make sure to either shoot me a text or wait till after and we could talk it through. But understand that at the end of the day, like, DM gets final say on what's going on. Like, we need the rules in order for this game to happen, but DM gets final say.
Yeah. I think the idea of like giving the rules lawyer that sort of like encouragement of saying like, hey, you are an asset to me. I enjoy you helping me out.
They can be.
It makes them feel good.
Yeah, it makes them feel good.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Also, like, legitimately, they can be. Like, if I don't know how grapple works, and aside from someone who can remind me through a text message, here's how grapple works, that'd be great. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, of course, like, sometimes the rules can be dumb, and like the DM needs the power to be able to like make adjustments where appropriate. Like, obviously, if the DM is just saying like, oh, you fail all your death saves now because I said so. That's lame. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's lame. Like, they have the power to do it, but...
lame.
It doesn't change it. You're still a dick.
Yeah, that's a dick move. But if the DM's like...
or even introducing, like, brand new rules. Like, I actually just covered this in, like, one of my most recent videos I did. I always like to give my players a one, are you okay with this? Where like
Oh,
if their
yeah.
character dies, you take them aside and you say, hey, in the book it says you're dead and you got to make a new one. But I'm saying if you want to continue your character story and you feel like their arc isn't finished, then I am giving you one chance to do it.
I hope my players aren't watching this because I feel like it would ruin the surprise if any of them die. Don't watch this. Skip like a minute ahead.
No.
But anyway, like, yeah.
Fuck off, Crispy's players.
I say the same thing. One of my players knows this because she died, and I said the same thing. Like, hey, look, if you... She thought... But when I told her that, she said, oh, I feel like that's like cheating, though. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not really. Like, if you want the character to continue... But she made a new character, and she's great. But
And she still has her one.
yeah, she still has like the character that she made, but their story just ended in a very tragic, sad way.
Oh.
But that's how some
Well,
stories-
honestly, those are kind of the best deaths, though.
Yeah.
Those are the best deaths, when you really get to turn on the waterworks and get,
Yeah,
like,
it's very
the
sad.
violin and piano music playing in the background. You're like, just hold my hand while I go into the light kind of deaths. Those
Yeah.
are the best.
Those are good deaths. And also, like, those kind of moments, they can be... What's really unfortunate is if, like, a player dies because of, like, a rule mess-up. And, hey, in those moments, a rules lawyer would be great.
Yes, please. And do interrupt me there.
Yeah, like, if it's urgent, like, oh
I'm
my God.
actively killing someone.
If it's urgent, like, please, just say something.
Yeah.
I thought but maybe the interruption isn't always the problem. I also think the other problem is like the arguments that can like can follow, like like the interruption, like in reality, like if they interrupt and it takes like 5 seconds, not a big deal, like just move on. But if they interrupt and then argue, and it takes like 5 minutes, then
If your interruption is 5 minutes and not 5 seconds, that's when it becomes like annoying as hell.
yeah, we have to curtail this issue now.
Yeah. I think that also that can be solved with the again, prevention instead of reaction, where in session 0 you say, hey, we're going to be playing kind of fast and loose with the rules here. If something is wrong, but I know it's wrong, and I say that I'm doing it this way, then that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And like, yeah,
Or-
it kind of sounds like an asshole way to say it that way, but it's necessary.
Yeah, you gotta say, like, establish, like, hey, we're playing fast and loose. Like, if I establish this and I explain my reasoning, that's the reasoning. We can talk about it after the fact, but no arguments during the game. Let's keep it moving.
Exactly. Like, that's why combat grinds to a halt sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's so sad. It's so sad because like combat is where characters live and die.
And it should be intense.
Unfortunately, yeah, exactly. Like you are fighting for your life, and unfortunately, with the way at least 5e is set up, combat has the potential to be the most boring of the three pillars.
Yeah, if you don't manage it properly as a dungeon master.
Exactly.
Any final thoughts on the rules lawyer and what you can do for prevention?
I covered it all pretty good, but overall, just a quick little summary. Make the rules lawyer your ally, not your enemy, through clear communication before the issue becomes an issue.
That's a great little summary. Moving on.
Hell yeah.
What we have the metagaming people. I think this is just gonna happen, especially with new players. Unavoidable.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes from that video game mentality where
yeah.
all the resources are there. Like in The Witcher, literally half of the mechanic is finding out what the fuck the monster is weak to.
And yeah, that's part of Dungeons and Dragons too. But the problem is, like, people like carry that knowledge cross games. I also think we should draw a line. I think a player doing a logical assessment on like what a monster is strong or weak against is not metagaming.
Yes. Yeah.
Or players
if they're-
talking strats outside the game. I think that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, like, if there's, like, literally a monster made of fire, then, like, logic would dictate that chucking a bucket of water on it might hurt it.
Yeah, that's metagaming Dead of the Drink. What are you talking about? The players
I'm
clearly
sorry.
read the
I
player's
am that guy.
They clearly read the monster manual to deduce that information.
Yeah, surrender your book.
Immediately.
I like to imagine that the DM is like, whenever you fuck up, he just takes your book.
Yeah. Surrender your book and your ass at once.
Your ass.
But yeah, no, you can't make sure to draw that line. But if a player is clearly like looking up because I had a player who was like same guy from before with the flirting, same guy.
No.
I thought he was calling out every twist in Curse of Strahd while I was setting them up. Like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, guys. And I'm just like, that's lame.
That's terrible. That's literally spoilers. That's not. I was gonna like go into like a tangent about what you can do about metagames. There's nothing to do about that. That's just being a fucking asshole.
That's just like, okay, to be fair, like logically, sure. If that lady disappears instead of me showing the body, yeah, logic would dictate that she's probably gonna come back as an undead monster that you have to fight. But you don't need to immediately shout that out for everyone to like, come on.
Yeah, homie.
Lame. Come on.
Oh god. But like so the metagamer, like I said, a lot of it comes from the video game mentality, and like with the new, like with 5e coming out, a bunch of like younger people, like ourselves, like picked up Dungeons and Dragons. And because a lot of us were exposed to video games long before the concept of this dice rolling game was even a tiny little seed in our brains, we go into it with the game, Skyrim, Witcher, whatever mentality, and we immediately think like, okay, I have all these resources at my disposal in this book. I should be able to use them. But the main distinction that I think a DM needs to make very clear is that unlike a video game where you are playing as your character, in an RPG setting, you are your character. As in, you know what your character knows. So going into it, in order to prevent metagaming from even occurring, again, a lot of this is prevention, not reaction, is talking to that new player, and when you're explaining what Dungeons and Dragons is, you emphasize that you are the character you create. You take on this mantle, and you know what they know, and et cetera, et cetera. I kind of lost the thought there. I started rambling, but you get what I mean.
No, that's perfectly logical. And if they do end up metagaming, like, don't freak out. Like, it is a mistake. They're not trying to, like, cheat in D&D. They're not, like, maliciously in their mind trying to ruin your game. They just, they're just playing the game, and that's all good. We all, I guarantee, we have all metagamed at some point and never even realized it. Made a call.
When someone metagames, you pepper spray them once and they'll get the message.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's totally the reaction. But we've all metagamed, and it's perfectly okay. And sometimes, sometimes it's just best to let it go. Like if the player left their pet at the camp to keep watch, but forgot to tell the pet to come grab them, and then the player like later on is like, oh, my pet comes back to grab me. That's fine. Like, whatever. I'll let that shit slide.
It makes the story better. In all these situations, whether it be rules lawyer, not the flirt, that doesn't make the game better.
No.
But the metagamer, if it makes the game better, then let it happen.
Yeah.
Not everything is a red flag.
If you want super immersive, that's okay. But sometimes, just let it go. It's not too big. And if it's super metagamey, talk to the player, chill, relaxed. Don't freak out, as always, and just explain like, hey, your character wouldn't know that. Or, the critical role technique, the metagaming owl always works as well. Just like, not weaponize, that sounds terrible, but like, try to have the party help out. Like, players sometimes want to hold themselves up to that standard of not metagaming, and having like everyone at the table work together to create a game where you only know what your character knows. That's perfectly okay as well.
Yeah, and everyone's familiar with like Pavlov's dog, the classical conditioning, and you can actually prevent metagaming by rewarding anti-metagaming behavior.
Oh yeah, dude.
Whether it be inspiration tokens, extra roleplay, or just fun little tidbits of lore or whatever.
Yeah.
If you reward the behavior you want to see, you're going to see a lot more of it. And it really is that simple.
Players, especially players, stopping themselves from metagaming, and in that, stopping themselves from getting some sort of advantage, I think not only, like, it's not like I think you should, like, absolutely reward that. Like, that's something all DMs should do. Not like a maybe. I think that's a guarantee of getting some inspiration. Like, one reroll isn't going to break the game, but just giving them, like, a little reroll or a little bit of extra points on their dice, always helpful. It also makes the player feel good.
Comes when they hoard it.
Oh, don't. Here's a good rule. Apparently, this is in the DMG. I didn't even know this. Inspiration is supposed to expire after the session.
Huh.
It's supposed to only last the session. Did you?
Oh my god, that's so much so simple.
Yeah, it's just so simple. Like Ginny D made a video about inspiration, and she said that this is in the I think she said it's in the DMG, and I was like, that's in the DMG. What?
Dude, I own the fucking DMG. I haven't read that. Holy shit.
Maybe I'm
That's awesome.
Maybe that's something she came up with, and I'm just misremembering. But like at the same time, like that's a great rule.
It really is, because like it'll encourage it. Like even like using inspiration on like dumb shit, like social encounters that don't matter.
Yeah, that's fine. Like just use it. You might as well. It's gonna expire.
Yeah. It puts like time sensitive stuff on it. It's really cool.
So rewarding players with inspiration that expires is a great way to help out with stopping metagaming. But a player giving straight up spoilers, that's a bit more of a serious conversation that you should.
Yeah, no, that's an out of conversation talk.
Don't do that, guys. It's lame.
Moving on, that would be
the critic. Oh yeah, the critic. You've got some stuff to say about the critic.
I do have some things I have to say about the critic, but would you like introduce the audience to what the concept of
guys,
the critic is?
The critic is the guy. He just can't stop with those critiques. And critique? DMs often ask for critiques. We all, as dungeon masters and players, appreciate some helpful criticism. But this is the critic who just, the same thing with the rules lawyer, interrupts the session. Like, I'm doing my crappy Russian accent, and the critic insists to stopping the game to give me a small little lesson in Russian dialect. Like, this happened too, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, but guys, criticism's always appreciated. But the problem, I think, comes when the criticism becomes a little bit overbearing or rude.
Exactly. Like, I have a critic. I know a critic. He's very close to my heart because he's me. I am the critic. I am the critic.
I am.
Like, when I finally do my face reveal, I'm just gonna look like the fucking guy from Ratatouille with like the sunken in eyes and stuff.
The critic will decide your fate.
Yeah, what was his name? It was Ego. Yeah.
Ego.
I look like Ego.
Hey, he ended up being a really chill and awesome dude at the end of that movie, remember?
Yep, honestly, that is a pretty good metaphor for the critic.
Yeah.
Because again, he goes back to the rules lawyer where they just want the game to be the best it can be. Mm-hmm. Now,
nothing wrong with that.
Exactly, but it does go too far, like you said. And the reason why I was the critic, I don't think I'm as bad now, was that I come from a professional field where you create something and then it's literally the job of your peers to rip it apart. And then you come back with something even better. And like, that's just like my professional environment. And after being in that professional environment for so long, I was like, okay, this is like that for everything. Saying something is shit, do it again, and then helping them rebuild it is productive. But unfortunately, that mindset is not productive in every scenario. Unfortunately, because you got to remember, unless you're Critical Role, you're not making money off your D&D game.
Yeah,
you're not making money. You can use copyrighted music,
and even in Critical Role, like you don't see Sam Riegel stopping Matt Mercer to like correct him, because it also just doesn't make for a fun game to watch or play.
To be fair, for me, all my critiques were after the session. I would just have like a thesis.
That's not bad. That's not bad. In fact, I might ask for that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they didn't. I kind of like set up this thing where like we had a gaming group, and Gabe, if you get around to watching this, I sincerely apologize.
We'll have Gabe in the comments.
Yeah, Gabe's in the comments like, you fucking asshole, you ruined my life. But we had this thing where me and my buddy, we would go back and forth and we would trade off DMing. And I said, let's do a thing where after the session, we have a little feedback. We have like a sweet, sour, sweet critique session from all the players where you say 2 good things and 1 thing that needs to be improved on. And they're like, okay, this is a great idea.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, it is. It's actually a really good idea, and I encourage it. But as long as you don't go too far into it, because eventually I took what I learned from the professional environment of just annihilating the work so it can be reborn like a phoenix. It turns out you got to kill something first before it needs to be reborn, and that's not exactly productive.
For
Now,
D&D.
I make it sound a lot worse than it actually was.
Yeah.
But this was a new DM, and they were new. They were going to make mistakes, and I didn't really give them that grace period because I felt like I didn't get a grace period. So unfortunately, that kind of like really affected his self-esteem in a way. And it was really selfish in the way where I thought like, oh, I know the right way for you to improve. It's in my brain. I am the objective fact checker or whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'd call it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of a dick in that way. And I will wholeheartedly say that I did not go about it the right way. And so when you are encountering a critic, basically, moral of this story, when you are encountering a critic, they are not trying to actually bring you down most of the time.
Most of the time. Some of them are just dicks. We've read them.
Some of them are just dicks, and then
that's mean. Don't be like that.
Yeah, that's just dealing with mean people, which is something everyone needs to do. And
unfortunately.
Yeah, but you don't want to just immediately go to the like, oh, he wants to see me fail. Oh, he thinks I'm a horrible DM. Because I want to say most of the time, because I do think that most people are good people. They want to be good people. Like a critic who is like a food critic. They're a food critic because they love food.
Yep.
A movie critic. They're a movie critic because they love movies.
Yep.
A critic in your DM game does not necessarily mean they hate their game. They're a critic because they love your game. And they want to see the best they can be. And the best thing you do is just communicate. Just say, hey, I appreciate the critique, but if we can make it in a way that is 100% constructive at all times and does not interrupt the session, then I would love to have you as my ally and not my enemy, just like the rules lord.
Just like the rules
because
lord.
they 100% have potential to make your game better.
Yeah, and one big thing with the critic is like, you know, a lot of time that kind of constructive criticism is very helpful for Dungeons and Dragons, but you need to make sure, again, it's constructive and not intrusive or ruining the game for the dungeon master or the players. It's important that everyone's having a good time. Criticism should make something better, not make it worse. Because remember, your DM, like, I know a lot of people think that their feelings don't matter, but that's BS. Of course their feelings matter. If the DM is feeling like crap, you think they're going to run a good game?
Yeah, no. They're not going to want to run a game, period.
Yeah, they're not going to want to run at all. So you need to make sure that your DM is like doing okay. Like they're doing good.
You good, buddy? You want some water?
There was a Twitter thread. I don't remember when it got like super viral in D&D, but it's like normalize like giving your DM like a hug. And obviously that's not like the exact thing you need to do, not for everyone, but like normalize like helping your DM out, like making just sure to check up on them, making sure that they're okay.
Exactly. Real quick, I want to bring something up before we move on from the critic though. I do think that there is another problem player that actually stems from the critic that is not on this list that I would like to like bring up a little bit, and that would be the anti-critic. The person who comes in, hates criticism, cannot take it.
Bad.
My DM, my player, my role play is perfect, and if you say otherwise, you are objectively wrong.
You're a hater.
You're a hater. And this is why you don't baby your DM.
Yep.
You make sure they're okay, but you don't baby them.
Yeah. It's also rude to like baby somebody. It's mean. Come on.
Absolutely. Like it doesn't feel good to be babied if you are aware that you're being babied. But a lot of these people, the anti-critics, don't know they're being babied because it's all they've ever known.
You don't want to be like the yes man to your DM. Like if you're not having a good time, like tell them. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like even if that does cause problems, like it's better to like, because like that's just gonna fester.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like what happened with me being the critic is that it festered over
no
a long period of time. Yeah, exactly. And then when it came time to finally say something, I said a lot, and it was bad. So don't let the shit fester.
Yeah, let it out.
Balance. Yeah.
All right.
Like criticism in every walk of life, no matter what it is. Like I don't know. I think a huge advocate for criticism. So I think you need to find the balance.
Yeah, I gotta find that balance. But I think the important note to note is that when you're being honest and in your critique, remember that you don't necessarily need to be brutally honest, right? Like brutally honest doesn't need to be your only kind of honest. Like honesty is not an excuse to be rude, right? That's where your balance lies.
There's giving critique and then there's being cruel.
Yeah, there's being mean.
And like whenever someone's all like, oh, I'm just blunt. I'm like, okay, so you're a dick.
Yeah, you're just being a dick. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Like, whenever people are like, oh, people don't like me because I'm blunt. People don't like me because I say it how it is. I'm like, no, people don't like you because you're
an
a fucking
asshole. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
That's not helping.
So, like,
anyone.
that's a huge red flag for me in social interactions. And, like,
yeah.
if you've ever said this, I'm sorry, but,
Don't
like,
do that.
that's a red flag to more people than just me.
The next one we have, are you ready? The Flirt.
Yes.
This is the one.
This is the one.
This is the one. These are your
This is
incels.
kinda like, this is like the most irredeemable one.
the incels.
And like, it's not exactly gender
nice
either. It could be man, woman, somewhere in between. It's literally
the nice girls.
The nice girls.
The nice girls.
It's
they're
like
right there too.
it's anyone who goes into D&D thinking they're walking away with a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Bad form, guys.
Bad
D&D's a terrible place to flirt.
Christ alive.
These ones are bad.
Yeah, they're like, it's human. It's a human thing. It's a human desire, and you're not inherently bad for having a crush on someone at your D&D table.
But
Where it becomes a problem is where if I can tell you have a crush on the goth chick through
And
the
you start
actions of
acting-
your gnome paladin,
start acting weird.
then there's a problem.
We got a
yeah,
problem.
there's a problem.
You can make people uncomfortable. It makes not only it makes not only the person you're trying to flirt with very uncomfortable, which is bad,
Yes.
but also makes the rest of the table
rest of the table.
very uncomfortable.
Yes.
You think
Absolutely.
D&D may be a game, but it does not give you game. Okay, like
Yes.
no, stop.
Like, think of it trying to get a girlfriend in the lobby of a Modern Warfare 2 game.
Not happening.
It's not going to happen.
People try
Like, you
all
might-
the time.
Yeah, there's a big, like, whenever I have like a video and I'm all like, oh, you're not getting a girlfriend or out of D&D or a boyfriend or whatever, I always get comments like, oh, I met my husband at D&D. Well, you met your husband at
Yeah,
D&D.
met, but you didn't flirt
Yes.
through D&D. Like you met.
Yes. Like, there's nothing wrong with meeting someone through D&D. In fact, D&D and RPGs as a whole is a great way to meet people and make, like, friend groups. Because, like, you know, the party is kind of a built-in friend group that can easily be translated to real life in a way. But
consent in
Yeah,
this
exactly.
relationship. Yeah.
exactly. You gotta have it both ways.
But I think the most important thing is also like, hey, if you guys, I've seen that it can work out. Like, obviously, again, we used Critical Role before. Laura and Travis, they're husband and wife IRL, and they had a very sweet romance in campaign 2, and that worked out because it was consenting. They both were clearly down for this. The DM and the rest of the party were clearly supportive. Everyone was down for this storyline to happen. Everyone was down with it, and that's why.
Exactly.
And that's why it was such a hit with both the party and the audience. Good job. If you really want to flirt in-game, like, you need to make sure your DM is down with it, your party's down with it, and make sure that everyone consents. Like,
Yeah. Now, when you say flirt in game, I think it's a very important distinction that it's your character.
yeah, characters.
Having this romance, not you.
Characters.
Characters, because like even like campaign 1, we know that Marisha and Matt, they are married, they are a couple. However, Marisha's character Keyleth was in a romantic relationship with Liam O'Brien's character Vaxeldan, saying that was a nice relationship. That was like, everyone was comfortable with it, they were all friends. But only because Marisha and Liam were able to separate themselves from those characters.
Yeah.
It's very important to do that. And I know that's hard because a lot of people literally just like, hey,
It's very
this is
hard.
literally...
It's
yeah,
very hard.
it can be pretty hard. Because like some people who play the game, they just like, hey, this is literally just me, but with muscles and a bow.
But pulling off a romantic subplot, I would argue, is also very hard and requires that separation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to
Absolutely.
pull off. Like, I used to do impromptu acting, like competitively, like statewide, nationwide impromptu acting competitions.
Holy shit.
And I'm gonna be real, guys. The worst ones were bad romances. Like, the ones I knew I was going to have to compete against, the ones that weren't going to finals, were ones that were bad romances because they were either A, unconvincing, or B, just made everyone uncomfortable because, like, the two people were just too awkward, or they couldn't separate themselves from the characters, which is, by the way, I'm very bad at separating myself from my characters, which is why I don't do too many romances back then, because I was bad at doing that.
And I assume that like pardon me if I'm like overstepping here, but like also your sexuality as
Yeah.
you are too, that also plays into like being uncomfortable in romances.
Yeah,
which
that's
is actually
why.
a very good point.
If by the way, like I did do a D&D like flirty romance in my games. Like nowadays I'm much better at separating character from player. But like still, if somebody's gonna start flirting with one of my NPCs, you better frickin' ask me first. Like be nice, ask first. It's important to make sure that you are not having a bad romance in your D&D game. Like my friend, she wanted to romance one of my NPCs, and she was like, "Hey, can we be down for doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." And it was very sweet, assassin lesbian couple.
Oh, we those are the best.
But what happened? But these flirty players. I mean, not only is it, we've been talking about in-game flirting, like in-game relationships between characters, but this, I think, it becomes a serious problem when it's like they think it's gonna get an out-of-game relationship.
Yeah, it's bad. So I think we segue into prevention from here. Yeah.
How do
what
you
to
what
do
do you
in reaction?
what do you do? Like I think reactionary. You gotta like don't yell, don't get upset, but like because
Yeah, don't make it a scene.
Don't make it a scene, but don't, because that solves nothing. You know, I've noticed that you're actually I think the first step is talk to the person who's being flirted with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like check out.
Is this even a problem?
Yeah.
Am I just reading too into this?
Yeah, like, are you good with this, or are we good? Like, or have you guys talked? Like, what's going on? So talk to the person who's being flirted with. If it's good, then I think have a conversation with both and just be like, hey, if we're gonna do this plot line, let's do it in a mature way that builds the story for the rest of the players and doesn't just like take it away from them.
Exactly. Like, I think the worst thing you can do here is you can easily make yourself the problem by making a problem when there is none.
Yep.
Like, if like these two people talked about it either outside of the game, or they're totally comfortable like flirting with each other in game, and they're like best friends and shit, and everything's fine, but you come in here on your horse, Mr. White Knight, milady, I'll save you.
Bad.
I'll save you from this incel.
Bad.
And like, it's bad.
Don't do
swat
that.
you with a newspaper, bad.
Don't do that. Bong.
Yeah, that's got some serious energy about
Yeah,
it.
bad.
None of it's good.
No, but if it is a problem,
And sometimes in D&D, you get those new players that don't really understand that it's like trying to get a girlfriend in a COD lobby.
bad.
And it's very important you just talk. You gotta talk. All of these, at the end of the day, if you had to boil it down to one sentence, is you gotta talk. So you just kind of like...
I'm always worried
Yeah.
that those feelings can never be let go of. Like if the other person is not down and consenting, I'm always paranoid about like the flirter not letting it go. But
Exactly.
if they genuinely seem capable, like you got one shot, I give you one shot. Like, hey, like this person's not comfortable with it. We talked, not comfortable. You need to cut it out. And if you don't, you gotta go, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. you are being kicked from the island.
You are drowned. No, but like it's
Yeah, I mean, like-
I think that's important though. You're right. Have that conversation. But you need to have but I do think that action needs to be taken and you can't give too many second chances.
Yeah. Like, for most of the time, I go for like a 3-strike rule. Like in my games personally, because like people do make mistakes, and like even I have that guy tendencies, and if I didn't have the 3-strike rule, I would never play D&D. I'm being hard on myself right now, but you know what I mean. Is that
Yeah, of
people are human, people make mistakes, people can be abrasive, people can be annoying, people can be flirty, people can blah 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 blah. And it's very important to give those chances, but at some point there is that sort of catalyst where you realize like some people just don't want to change or just cannot change.
Or don't feel like they need
And
to.
yeah, exactly. And it can be especially hard when it's like your buddy.
Oh yeah.
This person who's like doing the flirting or whatever is like someone you've known for like since like elementary school or some shit.
Yeah.
And like you can have that heart to heart with them.
I was in that situation, sort of.
Oh, no.
I had a guy. And this was not. He wasn't flirting with a player in game, in our game.
Mm-hmm.
He was flirting with a person that I was also friends with. And you know, when she told me like that this guy was like super creepy and weird in her messages, I was like, man, I've got 3 other girls in this game. And I don't think that I want him around when he's talking like this.
Oh no.
Like this sucks. But like I kept him around, and I started noticing things getting worse and worse and worse, and I'm like, this guy's gotta go, man. I did a whole video about him. I didn't bring up the flirty thing because it wasn't related to D&D. It was like an outside of game situation. But like that situation, that guy had to go. He had to get out of the game because his behavior. Because by the way, unbeknownst to me, the girls knew.
They do. Just quick PSA for all those DM sliders out there. But before you start being weird to a girl, think about this.
Or guy.
Before you slide into someone's DMs, think about this. If you find a way to make them very uncomfortable, that shit is not staying in that DM.
Oh yeah. You're gone.
Every person that they interact with and every person that you both know mutually is gonna know.
Yeah. So
think about that real long and hard, because I have had many people. Yep, I've had many people in my life just get their social lives just fucking decimated because they got horny at like 3 a.m.
And they said something real dumb.
And they said something real dumb. Or said something real dumb. So don't do that. Anyway, Dungeons and Dragons, huh?
Anyway, D&D, yes. I think we should end this off by addressing something. I've seen this comment a lot. The comment, and I think you've seen it. Like, oh, these people, it's just a troll. These people don't really exist. These like crazy. Nah. Guys, I'm gonna just tell about right here. I just saw like a video of a dude saying this exact kind of thing to people in real life. He was going around a parking garage in real life, trying to flirt with people and saying all this terrible stuff to them. And then when they rejected him, he pepper sprayed them. So if you
what?
Yeah, he committed a crime because these girls, he doesn't know them. He has no idea who they are. He's following them around the parking garage, flirting with them. And when they don't go out with him, psh. So if you think that this D&D flirting is too much, is not realistic, bro, you got no clue.
I believe it. Like crazy men, crazy women, crazy, just crazy.
He filmed it and put it on Facebook because he thought that he was in the right.
Did he get arrested?
Well, I mean, yeah, he committed that's assault.
Good.
It's assault.
Good.
With a chemical agent. You can't. By the way, you can't do that. Don't do that. That's illegal. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's assault.
It's harassment. It's harassment and then assault.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So anyway, the next one, the last one, the most famous, arguably, guys.
Oh boy.
It's time to talk about the Edgelord. The Edgelord.
Oh boy.
The Edgelord is that guy who sits in the corner and broods. The guy who doesn't want to interact with the party. The guy who kills that guard for no particular reason. The guy who's always bragging to his friends about cyanide or whatever. That guy. You know the guy. You know, if you were like in high school, you know that guy. But honestly, not all Edgelords are bad. Edgy characters can work out, but some of them can be quite obnoxious, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So,
yes, sir.
What do we do about the Edgelord? Kicked instantly.
The Edgelord.
Don't do that.
The Edgelord. You out-edge them. You make an edgier character.
That was a story once. I think that was an RPG horror story. Like someone said, I out-edged the Edgelord or something like that. And I was like, that's a fun story, but I don't think that solved anything.
The Edgelord. Before we get into like how to like solve it, we gotta like realize where it comes from. And like why there are so many, because there are a lot. I want to say almost every party is going to have that one. Absolutely. Everyone's made one. And every party, you're going to be able to point at someone and say, that's our edgelord. And like, even if it's like a soft edgelord,
yeah,
you're still going to be able to point at someone and say like, that person is the edgiest one.
And you know what? That's okay.
That is totally okay.
That's all
and
right.
like, it kind of goes back to like the metagamer thing. It comes from like the media we consume.
Yeah.
Think about all the main character edgelords that came out of like the 80s alone.
Not even just the 80s. I think. When did all those like young adult books start coming out?
I think that was like early 2000s. Maybe
yeah, that's when I saw it the most.
2010s. Yeah.
Like in the 80s,
like,
you had your big man protagonists, like your like classic Chad protagonist. I think our edgy protagonist came from early 2000s.
Yeah, maybe 90s.
Maybe
90s like a good image, because like I'm thinking when I think edgelords, I think like Guts from Berserk, which is like the only Japanese media other than like From Software games that I actually consume is Berserk.
My friend Caden
and
just
Dark
got
Souls.
incredibly. He got so horny when you said Berserk. He's freaking out right now.
Oh my god, Caden, Berserk is badass.
He loves
You
Berserk.
got good taste, man.
Yeah.
Dude, the whole reason I work out is so that I can lift a heavy hunk of iron too big to be called a sword.
Yay.
Like, but anyway, back on topic. The edgelord is because like it's everywhere, and a lot of the times when they're written well, they're good character. People look at that and say like, "Wow, I like that character because they are flawed. They are flawed, but they are still human." Mm-hmm. The problem is when they're like, "Okay, in order for a character to be good, they need to have flaws," which is 100% true.
Yeah.
But then they completely forget that the character needs to be able to overcome those flaws.
And also
needs
be
to
like
have some
a part
good.
of the group.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go into the character and introduce them with only flaws and nothing likable
Redeemable.
about
Why are
them
they here?
at all, exactly.
Why are they here?
Why am I supposed to get invested? Why am I supposed to even humor this guy in his redemption arc if I don't even want to see him now?
It's the worst when they don't even think the character needs to be redeemed in the first place. Cringe.
Yeah.
The whole point
like
is to redeem or to,
Yeah.
to have that
Exactly.
moment. But another big thing is that a lot of those edgy characters, they are the main character of their book, and that's great for a book. But in D&D game, you are not the main character of jack shit. It is the party that
No
are
one
the
is.
main characters together. We are all the main characters here. We are all the
We are all the main characters here, Vladimir.
characters.
This main character.
We are all main characters, and you know what? That's the way it should be done. So everyone gets a spotlight. But we'll talk about the spotlight hog with Quick Crab. But when you're an edgelord and you're trying to like be that one edgy protagonist, that's not going to work here. You have to be a supporting edgelord. You got your Caleb Widowgast. Tragic
can see
backstory. Tragic back. He literally murdered his own parents.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Pyromaniac.
That's pretty tragic. Pretty edgy.
Morally gray as hell.
Yeah, like a good metaphor is like the edgelord. They're built different, right? Mm-hmm. You got like the cement fixing. You got like you're building a foundation, right? You got the cement mixing for like the foundation that makes like the sturdy blocks that hold the house, and then you got like the wooden cross beams. And like the wooden cross beams, those are built different, but they're still making a fucking house.
Yeah, they're still part of it.
Yeah, you don't get to have your like wooden cross beams like 50 feet away from the rest of the house.
They gotta be part of it.
You still want to build the house.
Yep.
But like, so in order to like prevent the edgelord, so to say, is you gotta get it out of your brain that you're preventing an edgelord because they're gonna happen anyway.
Yeah,
Edgelords are everywhere. Batman, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sasuke. So it's inevitable. What you're trying to do is prevent an edgelord that disrupts the game.
Yep.
So in order to do that, you got to make it very clear that like, hey, expectations here. I need you guys to stay together. I need you guys to help me out here. Make it very clear that I'm not trying to take away your player agency here. You can make whatever characters you want, but the adventure I'm making requires anywhere between 3 to 6 people.
As long as you establish it at the beginning, like I don't think there's a problem with you saying, "Hey, I want good characters for this campaign. I want evil characters for this campaign. I want this kind of character for this campaign." Because in order for the campaign to work and make sense, what I've got planned out, you need to have a character like of this alignment. I think that's a general enough rule that I think it's all right. Or even a DM, like, I don't have a problem with a DM saying, like, this is an all kobold campaign, play only kobolds, or all dwarves, play just dwarves. Like, I think as long as you establish, that's okay. Like, I don't think that's destroying player agency by doing that.
Exactly. Well, like, player agency can only really be destroyed when the game starts. Let's be
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
No, don't be obnoxious about it. Like if a player's like, if you establish anything and the player comes to you with a character and you say, "Oh, I banned ASMR because I think they're too overpowered," then they come back with a different character. "Oh, I banned Aarakocra. Oh, I banned Tifa." Like, no, stop! Don't do that. Don't be obnoxious.
Yeah. At that point, just say I banned flying.
Can they all fly? Oh, those can't all fly. Aarakocra,
yeah,
Tiefling,
Aarakocra, Tiefling,
variant,
and
ASMR specific sub. Yeah, they can all fly. You're right. I didn't even mean to do that.
Happy accidents, because those are the most commonly banned races. Yeah, edgelords can be fun, and like one thing that's really funny to me about edgelord becoming a stereotype is that all these edgelord characters that are created in popular media, their entire arc is them becoming not an edgelord. Because by the end of most of these stories, these characters are not edgelords.
Yeah, like Han Solo's story isn't Han Solo being alone the whole film franchise.
It's joining and opening up to people.
Yeah,
fucking Batman. He's got like the Bat family now, and he's like significantly less edgy.
Wow.
Fucking Gut from Berserk. He's still edgy.
He's still pretty edgy. Have you seen the Batman? The Batman with Raw Bat and Bat?
I have not seen that one,
It's
but that's
very
when he's
good.
on his own.
It's very
he's on his
good.
own.
It's a very good movie, but he's incredibly edgy. He does open
I'm
up though,
sure.
at the end, you know?
At the end, and he becomes less edgy. So
He's
like
still pretty edgy, but he's less edgy.
still, less edgy. I haven't seen that one yet, but like even like fucking Christian Bale Batman over the 3 movies. If you look at like The Dark Knight, what was it, Begins or whatever, the very first one, Batman Begins.
Good
and
movie.
then you look at the very last one, he was significantly less edgy. He's like sitting at the bar or whatever, tipping his drink to Alfred and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories where the edgelord character becomes less edgy. That's the point, and I think a lot of edgelords miss that, and I think that they're missing out on a great, neat trick. Like you could create a really cool story.
Exactly. Like Guts. Guts is the quintessential edgelord. I'm gushing about Berserk again. He's the quintessential edgelord. If you look at him during like the Black Swordsman arc, he is painfully edgy. We're talking like, oh, he's lucky that he died because he doesn't have to put up with the pain of this world. We're talking that kind of edgy. But then you like look at like what made him into an edgelord, and then you look at how he overcomes being an edgelord, and they're over here like, okay, I can kind of forgive you being so cartoonishly stupid.
Yeah. Also,
Like-
another thing is tone of campaign. Like if we're running, like if I'm running Wild Beyond the Witchlight, like an edgelord trying to like, you know, an edgelord who wants to see the world burn probably isn't gonna fit with what I'm trying to create in this whimsical Fae campaign.
Exactly.
It's
I mean,
also
even if you like play, you could talk with your DM about that because like that could actually be really funny.
Yeah, it could be funny, but you need to play it
trying
right.
to be like hyper serious.
Yeah, but again,
yeah.
like you need to talk about that. You need to like discuss. You need to be open. I think the key to not fixing, but like integrate the edgelord or establish like at the beginning, like, hey, these are the kind of characters that are gonna fit into this story. And if you think an edgelord could fit, try to make it fit, and make sure as an edgelord player to not be a spotlight hogging person and allow the rest of the party to like play the game.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Crispy, my man.
That's it. I get to do one summary per video. That's the rule. All right, but yeah, that's all that we have for all of our. We have 5. That's it. An hour, and we have done it.
That's it. Hell yeah.
We did it. Do you have anything you'd like to
that's nice
shout
even
out?
hour.
This is coming out on a Wednesday, or on this. No, this whole podcast is coming out on a Sunday.
Oh, I was about to do a Wednesday, my dudes, but if it's Sunday, then whatever, man. I don't care. But yeah, Den of the Drake. Go to my channel, like, comment, subscribe. Also do it for Crispy, even though you're probably already here. Do it anyway. If you're coming from my channel, I want you to like this video and subscribe to Crispy. He is very underrated for the work he puts in. Like, holy shit. This man needs more subs.
Thank you.
And yeah, I lost the thought. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really glad you had me back on, man.
Of course. Well, if you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then you can check out our RPG horror story series where we cover the best and the worst of Dungeons and Dragons. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down to the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment problem player to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.